Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. We're back on the ground here at the HyperX HQ in LA for day 2 of the D2L Western Challenge playoffs. Going to be Fnatic taking on Na'Vi to lead things off today. Now, Fnatic squeaked on through into our playoff picture. Na'Vi finished roughly middle of the pack, actually, coming up just short compared to our two top performers in Empire and EG, but still a favorite to go deep into our playoff bracket. But we have not seen them in action since they fell short at the summit a couple of weeks ago. So everyone really highly anticipating their return to the organized professional playing field. I'm sure they've certainly practiced in scrim, but we just haven't seen them in action in a real match thus far. Before we get into the lineups, let's take a look at how the playoff picture has shaped up so far. We've already gotten 1 day of matches, well, match, I guess, more singular than plural, as we only had Rox taking on Cloud9 and yesterday in a single best of 3. Rox Kiss, aka Team Goldblack, got the best of Cloud9 and advanced into the second round of the winners bracket. They're going to be meeting EG later on today. As you can see, Empire awaits the winner of Na'Vi versus Fnatic. Cloud9, the only team to fall down in the lower bracket so far, but that'll definitely change by the time all is said and done here today. Again, Na'Vi and Fnatic facing off in this best of 3, the first of 2 today, for their chance to go square off against Empire in the second round of the winners bracket. So let's take a look at how these two teams shape up. Na'Vi, of course, doesn't really need much of an introduction. They're led by Puppey on the hard support, Havost on the hard carry position mid, one of the most popular players in the world in Dindy, Funnick in the off lane with Kuro on the hard support. They finished 4th overall. 5-2 was their record in D2L regular season play. A little bit surprising. I think many people expected them to finish a little bit stronger than they did, but with only 7 matches, it's easy to understand how if you drop one, it's very easy to drop a second, especially with the field as strong as this one was throughout the regular season. So, again, looking ahead to Fnatic, they will be playing down a man today. They have Fly on the hard support. That's the captain, Era. Still out of commission, and we all really hope he gets well soon. He's been taking some time off to deal with some health issues. He will not be playing in any tournaments up until TI4. He will be present there. Hani, of course, in mid with No Tail. Big Daddy on the support position with Trixie out in the off lane. They finished 5th, right behind Na'Vi, 3-4, making it in as the next to last team to qualify for our playoff field. So both of these teams, very, very talented at all positions, very, very popular players, and a hell of a lot of fun ahead of us. I'm AC, and I'm going to be joined by Tralf, as always, here on the D2L Western Challenge. We're live, as you can see behind us, here in the LAN facility they've built into the HyperX office here in LA. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. We've been here for a couple of days now, and what's really nifty is after we do our broadcast, we actually get a chance to kind of mess around, to play games and all this. It is amazing the amount of care that has gone into the building of this facility.
It's actually a really slick-looking building, too. Like, everything in here is pretty savvy and pretty tech-savvy, obviously. Yeah. But, yeah, this room is awesome. We get to hang out and play on these awesome computers. And actually, you know what? Nice plug, but the headsets are actually really comfortable. They really are.
Yep, they really are. Like, everything here, I actually love this. This is what I use in the office. Right now, using the broadcast headsets, the only reason I'm not wearing it now. But yeah, that's actually my headset of preference when we're back in the office. But
they are really comfortable, though. They actually are.
Enough about headsets and all of that. Let's move on into the draft as it is underway. Both teams, 2 picks deep at this point. Fnatic, well, they're showing us something that has given them a lot of success. In fairness, though, usually they have Era on Tiny, pairing it up with the IO. And on the side of Na'Vi, not wanting to give Excalibur his Meepo. We saw just how unbelievably devastating he can be with that hero in play yesterday as Fnatic blanked Alliance 3-0. Na'Vi opening up with Lycan and Tidehunter. And you and I talked at length yesterday about the strength of Tide as a hero and how we both feel like he really is poised to be one of those very popular picks looking ahead to TI, to Frankfurt, and everything else.
Well, there's so many different ways that you can run him. I think the most common one right now is the off lane, but that's not necessarily set in stone, as we saw yesterday. And 2 of their games, I think maybe 2, and if not all 3, but nonetheless, in all their games that they played him, Cloud9 played him as a support.
Yep.
And it was played by Pylai, and he actually maxed Gush first, which I thought was kind of interesting because the buff to the Anchor Smash was just so significant. I feel like it just warrants to be picked and used that way every single time.
Yeah.
You can make him. You can run him mid. I've seen S4 run him mid as well as other players.
You run him as a core.
You can run him as anything. And he has one of the best ults in the game. Not to mention he's just a tanky hero, and that's what we talked a little bit about yesterday. Is what seems to be popular in the metagame, at least right now, is these tanky heroes that carry themselves through their abilities, not so much through farm and then getting items and then carrying that way. I mean, Doom is kind of both, honestly, because he farms so fast and gets items so fast, and he also has an amazing ability, probably the best ultimate in the game. But you get my point. And, as far as the draft goes for both teams right now, you might see, or you might find it interesting to see what Na'Vi has banned out in the first phase. Both Tinker and Meepo. It's kind of funny. It says a lot that this is basically respect bans against Excalibur, who's a stand-in for Fnatic. And you're using your first 2 bans pretty much solely on him. Which is very, very, I guess, humbling for him.
Well, it's one of those things, and, you know, that is a storyline that is worth mentioning and talking about all throughout this series and all throughout the playoffs, depending, of course, how deep Fnatic goes. But the rise of him, and, you know, this is becoming more and more common, I think. The idea, you know, look at a Mason now, you know, Caliber and the situation he's in now. The fact that there is so much talent that is right on the bubble, right on the cusp of being able to play at this level, then you slide them in to a professional team and just have them play a while. Just have them actually knock out a couple of series, and suddenly you see all of this potential come out in a big, big way. So Fnatic playing with Excalibur, pretty much a week ago, everyone would have considered that a huge drop down. But I think right now, like you said, the respect bans coming out of Na'Vi indicate that, yeah, he is not a player that they take lightly, and anyone should be taking lightly at any stage. So Fnatic goes with a little more team fight. They go ahead and draft out Puck here in the 3rd position. That's after banning the Enigma and the Brewmaster, so they're definitely thinking 5-on-5. Have that in mind. And Na'Vi's actually going to show us a Lion pick, and you and I have been talking a bit about that over the last couple of days. You know, we've been kind of chopping it up about heroes we like, and Lion has come up a couple of times in terms of his utility, in terms of what he can give you, and in terms of, you know, the fact that he just isn't as picked as often in as many situations as it would seem like he would fit.
I think he's perfect in this meta game and should be probably picked up a little bit more than he is. You see DK run him a lot. The Chinese scene, the Eastern scene seem to like Lion a lot more. And I think it fits because, you know, we talked about how teams just seem to be drafting a lot more greedy lately. And I think you can get away with Lion because one of his weaknesses is, and he's not the greatest in lane. He doesn't output like really any damage from levels 1 through 5. But he has a lot of control, and if you can get past the laning phase against just an offlane hero, like if they don't go aggressive, which teams just don't do now in these patches, or at least it's very rare, I should say. So that makes Lion a lot better. And because if he is up against one offlane hero, he actually is pretty strong in that sense because his Hex did get buffed significantly in the last time. So yeah, if you can get away with him in the laning phase, he's pretty much one of the best supports you can have gearing towards the late game. So I like him a lot. Puck is a good pick here for Fnatic. I think Puck is quite good against the Lycan because you can't run away with the ulti unless you get BKB. And then Puck's not too good. But until that time anyway, Puck is actually pretty useful. With Fnatic opening up as Wisp Tiny, it's kind of, I've seen them do this so many times where they open up with Wisp Tiny and then it just gives the other team a little bit more time to think about, okay, how do we want to function against this, or how do we want to counter this, so to speak. So I mean, they're confident. They are a team that utilize Wisp Tiny quite well. Excalibur will probably play in the Tiny. You know, you gotta have your heart out for Era too, because that's just one of his signature heroes. Unfortunately, couldn't make it today, but I'm sure that Excalibur will pull through. Yeah,
well, it all kind of begins and ends whenever you see them run a lineup like this. It has a lot to do with Big Daddy, a.k.a. No Tail, being one of the best IO players in the world. He just absolutely 100% is. And it all begins and ends with his ability to just make plays. So, you know, the lack of Era on Tiny, like you said, it is a hero that he is very well known for. I don't think that's going to hurt them so much so long as they have No Tail. I like the Skywrath Mage pick up a lot here along with the Puck. That gives them 2 excellent silences to deal with heroes like Tidehunter and like the Lion. Lion, though, is very nice against an IO and a Tiny. He's one of the best at counter-initiating a relocate. If he's able to hit a good Impale, that's 2, and then he can Hex out the Tiny, and then IO's left all by himself. And if you're able to focus fire him down, Tiny coming back up is not nearly the threat he was. And the fact that Hex is actually an instant cast, there's pretty much no cast point to it at all. As soon as you click, it's a Hex. So it gives you a little bit of room to breathe in terms of reacting to what will be some very, very violent initiations coming out of Fnatic with both the Puck and the IO Tiny combination. So Na'Vi following it up with a little bit of roaming potential now. Enchantress, that's going to add to the push that Lycan brings as well.
Yeah, this looks very Eastern kind of draft from Na'Vi. They've been picking up a lot of things, I think, from specifically DK. I remember watching them at the Summit. They drafted a lot. Like, actually, someone pointed out, I remember it was on Reddit, I believe, where they actually drafted the exact same lineup that DK did, like, the game before. It was, it was kind of funny. So You know, maybe they respect the picks over there and
if
just
it works,
the meta game. Yeah, it does. It definitely works for DK.
Right.
But you can't just pick a lineup and then just and then just win every game because of it. You have to understand what you're doing, and I'm sure they do because they actually just started boot camping not too long ago, and I think that favors Na'Vi a lot. Obviously, it favors every team, but I think in particular at this stage of the game right now, in this time and place, it favors Na'Vi a lot. So yeah, I like the Enchantress pick. It's very, very strong. Last ban out here is Axe.
Yeah, the Axe is one of those heroes.
We saw it banned a lot yesterday, actually. We didn't talk about it, but it was banned a lot yesterday.
You know, I mean, he's just one of those heroes that people have just kind of figured out. You know, he's kind of good at a lot of stuff. You can run him in the jungle and then have him be a nightmare coming out in the lane with Battle Hunger. You can run him in the off lane, and he's actually pretty damn effective there. And honestly, his potential in terms of it being aggressive, like if you want to get aggressive, you want to run an aggressive tri-lane, or if you just want to have the ability to put pressure on a lane by simply cutting creeps, like he's so good at that. If you can isolate him in a one-on-one, he's an absolute nightmare to deal with. And it's just another one of those heroes that it's not just that he's good, it's that he's good in so many situations. It makes it very tough to just leave him hanging around if you know there's any proclivity on the side of the enemy team to actually want to pick him, want to run him, want to work him into a composition. Fnatic, though, gets a little more AoE with Centaur, and I'll tell you what, man, I love the combination of Tiny and Centaur. You don't even need, I mean, obviously you want to blink because it's more reliable. Tiny's ability to toss Centaur into a fight to lead things off is actually devastating. If you're very good with it and you hit the toss and the stomp right afterwards, the speed with which a Centaur lands and can react after a toss like that is actually gigantic. But Na'Vi getting a lot of mid-game punching power with their last pick as well. That'll be Dindy playing on the Templar Assassin.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much TA written in the last couple of games. But it should be good. I really like also the idea of Lycan with the Howl. It's going to buff up the supports. I talked about how Lion doesn't really have that much damage early on. Well, he has a lot of control. But with Howl, he has now control and damage. Same thing goes with Enchantress with her creeps.
Yep.
So, yeah, a lot of pushing power right there. And I'm not sure if this is the reason why they banned Axe, so to speak. It could be one of many, but it's actually quite good against Lycan because if you do have the Wolves right next to you, which commonly in fights you do, they die instantly because of physical damage, and they die to physical damage very easily. Not to mention you get extra spins when you're blinking in there with the call for max. So it could be one of many things. But yeah, the last pick TA could be fun to watch.
Looks like we're ready to get going. Our first series of 2 here today. This is the round 1 upper bracket matchup between Na'Vi and Fnatic. The lone match we have played so far. Rocks versus Cloud9. X-Rocks, I should say. I'm just going to start calling him Team Go Black because I like the way that sounds. Team Go Black upsetting Cloud9 yesterday and sending them packing to the lower brackets. So winner of this will meet Empire, who was one of our top 2 seeds to earn a first-round bye. EG matching up with Team Go Black X-Rocks Kiss coming up later today, so make sure you stay tuned for that. This is the D2L Western Challenge, brought to you by Kingston HyperX. So let's take a look at how the lanes are taking shape. Looks like it's going to be another support Skywrath, no big deal there. And actually, yeah, they've got Excalibur hanging out in mid. And this is probably going to end up being No-Tail, who drifts down there to help him quite a lot out of that mid position. It's not quite as good as it could be potentially if they're on the Radiant side, but still very nice whenever you can have an IO who's there to just secure a little bit of mid lane farm. For your mid Tiny. He will be up against Dindy on the TA, and that's a tough matchup really for him to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking here at mid, and they're doing some. Sorry, I was messing with my headset, so I might have missed some of the things you said. But Hani here, oh, he was trying to be sneaky, staying there with boots. He may be spotted out. Kuroki can maybe get some extra auto attacks on him. He has boots, so he can't really kill him and catch up to him. But the thing is if he does catch him, he's got no stats. Like he's already got less than 400 HP with 1 auto attack off on him. So Hani's going to have to play things carefully. He needs to get a really good block here. He's already kind of started late. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but blocks, blocks, well, sometimes it's good to keep the range one in front, but in general, you want to keep the range one in front, but also block all of them at the same time. Again, I could talk about that a little bit later, but it is extremely important for your offlane because it makes a difference between getting level 2, which gets you to level 3 and 4, or getting nothing at all.
Here comes Kuro. Gonna zone Hani out. Even spit. Look at this. I mean, he's doing a lot of damage. It's easy to forget. Puck is an excellent off-laner and a pretty damn good solo laner. Speaking of solo, we've got Tide running in mid, and this is something we talked about being a very big possibility here in this situation. It's actually Dindy who has rotated up to the off lane to deal with the duo lane, safe lane combination of the Skywrath Mage and Trixie, who should be getting a fair amount of farm here as well. But they are giving Fnatic a lot of priority on this Tide Hunter. And you and I talked at length yesterday about how this makes a lot of sense in many situations because Tide benefits a lot from levels up. He's actually playing very far forward, taking a bit of auto attack damage, but tanky as he is, he should be just fine.
I don't know why he doesn't have a stout shield. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, he would be blocking a lot more damage and be a lot more tanky if he did, especially if you're up against any kind of ranged hero. And if they land it like this, were they expecting the dual lane? I just don't know what TA is going to get up here that Tide couldn't. And Tide would probably get it much better. Actually, either of them are going to have a difficult time against Skywrath, but why would you sack your TA over a Tide? I don't understand. That seems kind of interesting to me. I don't know if I agree with that at all. I think then he's going to have...
Hang on. Kuro going to be spotted by Hani. Kuro has enough for an Earth Spike, and Hani phase shifts preemptively. A couple more auto attacks might do it, but there comes the Centaur. I was watching this entire exchange. It was actually kind of bizarre. Hani got chased out under his own tower, wound up ethereal jaunting into the trees here. Havosh tried to cut through a Tango, took a few tower shots and backed off, but he ended up throwing his orb out, and Kuro was very low health, and he just happened to throw it right on top of him, so a little bit of an exchange there. But in the end, no blood on the ground. That might change now, though, as Puppey and Kuro have smoked up and are now moving towards mid. Moving out. Dindy is there in mid as well with Fnatic, and this is a lot of personnel dedicated here for the moment. We'll see what Kuro and Puppey are going to be able to accomplish here. Dindy has shown himself, so they know he's there. They're actually going to bypass the lane.
Was Puppey smoked and just revealed it somehow? I swear he was smoked because now it's revealed.
Yep.
He must have touched just the outskirts of some kind of hero, but
yep.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting. They really want to press the issue here and get something, but they're just not finding the opening. They see Big Daddy over here, or No Tail.
Yeah.
But unless he's really out of position and kind of walks into them, he should be fine. He is getting some harass. That's got to be so annoying from that tier Tormentor.
A lot of time being spent by a lot of heroes moving around, and it's not the end of the world because Avos is now in a one-on-one with Puck down at bottom, so he should do okay there. He's leading in CS at the moment in mid. Dindy now taking up station in mid and playing quite far forward. He's got so much help to the north, and this is just a nice move out of Na'Vi, keeping the pressure on Fnatic. Fnatic is a team that does like to roam and does like to make things happen on their own, and now that you've just got so many bodies in this very, very volatile part of the map right through here, it's very difficult for them to be able to reliably roam around. Instead, they've just got to focus on what they can see, at least until No Tail hits level 6. He is level 3, so halfway there.
Yeah, and I wasn't really watching top, but I watched it for a little while when Denny was there, and he got absolutely nothing. But Trixie's missed a lot of last hits, and I don't know if that's because he doesn't have a Quelling Blade or if the pulls have been screwing him up. Sometimes you just get really unlucky when your teammates pull, and you just have a bad rhythm with the tower. It's just sometimes that happens. But nonetheless, he's at 18, whereas Havos is at 26. Because that means the action actually on Fnatic, he's taking a lot of damage. Double Edge doesn't actually do that much damage, though. Fnatic, he has an Anchor Smash in 1 second. Yep. Could be very close.
Oh, he Krakens. And let's see, can Trixie catch him? Double Edge up right now. There it is.
There it is.
First blood drawn by Trixie as Fnatic got a little far forward. And tell you the truth, even in mid, Fnatic was playing a little overly aggressive, especially lacking that stout shield.
He still doesn't have a stout shield.
Yeah. So down at bottom, things going quite well for Havos. 29 CS at 4.5 minutes in, so he's on a great pace there. Everyone else kind of hungry for the moment. Like you said, Trixie, the other one that should be really leading in terms of overall CS, trailing a bit behind at just 20. In fact, Excalibur on the tiny and mid. Hang on, Dindy almost brought down that time. Looks like he threw the avalanche uphill, but even he is sitting at 18, so right on pace with him as well. And now, Fly picked off as Na'Vi rotates through the jungle, manages to find him. So that's going to make it 1-1. And a lot of action everywhere right now.
Puppey's doing a really great job. Just his movements make a lot of sense. Like, he goes in the jungle. He knows that, okay, Skywrath can kind of harass him a little bit, but Wisp really can't. Like, and Wisp has to stay with Tiny mid. So he can just kind of freely go into the jungle and uncontested, not really have to worry about anything. And he's getting lots of farm. He's taking the jungle away from them. He's getting some good, decent creeps. He's now harassed Fly and killed him.
Yep.
So, and he's almost level 4, so Puppey's doing exactly what he needs to. Also, same thing with Kuro. He's staying right by him, getting some decent levels. And it's also providing complete free experience for Havost. And Havost should be fine down here because he's almost got his Vlads. Yeah, just about has his Vlads, and Hani can't harass him out of this. Like,
no.
It's going to be too difficult.
Yep, Havost plays very well on heroes like Lycan. Lycan's one of those heroes that you have to play aggressive with him if you're really going to maximize. Maybe, hang on, in mid, we're going to have Dindy dust it out, and a lot of people collapsing on him. There's an avalanche, and down he goes. And a Earth Spike is on the way, but it's too late. Kuro being pursued out now. Oh, nice net. Puppey there to help him out. Might have been able to catch him when all was said and done, but now Puppey going to be on the bad end of things. There's a toss, and he's going to end up dropping as well. Nature's Attendance, very, very strong. He had 2 points into it, but not strong enough to outrun the damage, the burst that Fnatic has in their composition at this stage of the game. Make it 3-1.
Yeah, kind of interesting. I think maybe he thought, okay, I showed myself. I don't have boots. I'm probably going to get caught here if they really pursue the issue, but I think he should have just kept running.
Oh, Ravage, blown by Trixie, or blown on Trixie by Fnatic. He doesn't have enough mana for an Anchor Smash. It's going to be a TPN. Trixie's very low, Fnatic just a little bit ahead. He gives him the old okie doke. Now he has enough for an Anchor Smash, but he could be in trouble. Here we go, Hani throws out the orb, does not jaunt to it.
Nice juke. Fnatic juked that. Hani didn't hit the damage with that orb. Could have maybe killed him. It would have been close. He would have gotten another stick charge once he used the silence, though, so I don't know. I think he might have still lived.
Yep, just short of level 6, by the way. If Puck was level 6, it would have been a for sure kill with Coil.
Right.
Trixie healed back up now, though. Had Tranks and got some help from his buddy, Big Daddy, No Tail, and back up to full. In the meantime, Vlad's now done on Lycan as well.
Yeah, really good for him. And the Vlad's thing is scary because now, okay, Hani left bottom lane. Now at least Skywrath is down here, but if you take any attention away from this tower is going to fall. And it's to a solo hero. That's the worst possible thing you could have. So just
Dust and Stampede. Dindy caught out once again. There's going to be the toss and the avalanche. That's going to be the second kill onto Dindy in as many minutes. He's sitting at just 23 CS, started out the game in this top lane, and this is not going to be a great TA game for Dindy unless something turns around very quickly. Could be a dive on the fly now, though. Puppey's going to be revealed. Fly hit with the enchant. Here comes the TPN to help him out immediately. No stuns on any of those creeps that Puppey has. Nature's Attendant's going to make him tanky and hard to bring down, but Hani going to stick with him. Coil was spent elsewhere and is on cooldown now. Puppey just continuing to run. There's going to be the orb. No Tail's there to help out as well. And Puppey continuing to be pursued and picked off as Big Daddy using those orbs. Excalibur, in the meantime, manages to toss Dindy away, uses his wand charges, he's in trouble, hits a two-man avalanche. Invis just up the river, can he make it in time? They don't have any vision. Meld, not enough. So he's, oh my God. Shot just a bit wide. Now we've got two ready to come in. There's a relocate, actually, from No Tail, going to send him back to keep him safe. In the meantime, Hani can't keep the tier 1 bottom up. Havost brings it down and continues to add to his big pile of gold. Fnatic, in the meantime, has been left alone in top lane predominantly, and he's already got up his arc boots, so his item development is on par as well.
That Rune RNG, if he catches Dandy out here too, he didn't have refraction up.
Another big avalanche toss, the silence there from Fly. And they are just punishing Dindy right now. And this is one of the problems with the TA pick. She really is a hero who can't afford to fall this far behind. What do you do if you need to get her back on track and this is your situation?
I think pull the lane back bottom and just let her sit bottom, like mid. But even then, now with relocate up and ready to go, now you can't really do that. So this is the problem when you give Wisp free levels like this, just pretty much uncontested, and Tiny is now free farming. It makes you question even the idea to pick TA into Tiny because the Avalanche is so good against refraction in general. Maybe that was their thinking about putting her top, but how like she didn't farm anything top. She couldn't even touch creeps against the Skywrath and Centaur. So I just think their lanes were kind of weird in that sense. But nonetheless, Dandy, he needs to realize the potential of the damage of the Avalanche going through refraction, and he just hasn't done that and has been punished for it severely. 0-3 and 0. So if he can keep the lane maybe in mid, bottom might be too risky just because of relocate, but keeping the lane static mid, I think, is probably his best option here.
Right now, Na'Vi is facing this tough situation. You fall behind like this to an IO Tiny lineup, even just including the puck and the range of initiation he brings to every game. You have to kind of start running as, if not 5, then very close to it. I mean, you can see this is kind of where they want to be at the moment. They do not want to be too far away to help each other. But if Fnatic can get some vision down, get some aggressive wards down, and keep an eye on Na'Vi, every time they separate out at all, they're going to be able to punish them tremendously. They're just going to put No Tail in Tiny's back pocket and let Excalibur free farm because the aggressive potential on Na'Vi is really lacking at the moment. Hani, all right. It's going to be spotted, and barely able to make it away. Here comes Excalibur to help. Hani's just going to go ahead and TP away. Down he goes. Behind that, though, there was the coil thrown, and they managed to get another
That's on Havost, too.
Yep.
That's no good. That was a really nice relocate. It was like a blink range relocate, but it was fast, quick, and to the point, and they were able to kill Havost. I don't know if he had mana for the ult. I don't know if he was just not ready for it, but nonetheless, very nice kill. Nice relocate from Big Daddy there. No Tail.
So right now, it's all Fnatic all the time. And this was one of the questions everyone kind of had, if I'm not mistaken, the betting odds on these two teams were right at 50-50. And a lot of that owing to the fact that Fnatic blanked the DreamHack champions, latest DreamHack champions, Alliance, 3-0 yesterday. And this is Na'Vi's first organized, like, true competitive match appearance since the Summit, where they did okay, but I still feel like most would say they underperformed a bit, given how experienced they are. So right now, Fnatic just looking like they're in better game shape.
Yeah, absolutely. The scary thing too, they're trying an aggressive smoke here on bottom for Hani. They're going to have to come at the perfect angle, and it has to be a Hex. But look, this lane is pushing up. Oh, very, very close. They do get it. They should be able to get this kill if they
immediate TP. Hani, nope. TP was canceled. No, he comes back in, and now Puppey in a lot of trouble as Trixie completes it and blinks immediately. Thought he canceled it at first. Now, though, kited out very effectively by Puppey and Kuro. And that's two players who have known each other for a long, long time, working together in harmony. They managed to bring down two very important heroes in the Puck and the Centaur, but Excalibur the whole time just continuing to do his thing. He's on his way to his scepter now, a little over halfway to it, in fact.
That was very interesting turn of events. Like, they didn't quite stick all the damage onto Hani. I thought he wasn't going to die, but he did die. And then also that death gave the 6 to Lion and was able to have the finger used to Trixie.
Yep.
So that's actually a really big comeback deal for Na'Vi. They really desperately needed that. They got better levels now on Enchantress. She's level 7. So her ult's going to do some damage now, and then Lion, he's almost level... No, he just hit 7 too, so pretty good for them. They really needed that.
Yep.
Their Ancients are really stacked too for Tide, so when he has those levels, he's actually level 8, so he can go do those. I still don't know why he doesn't style show. Relocate top.
Caught and going to be blown up. There's going to be Fnatic hitting the Ravage, though. Just no one around to help him. Can he make it 1-for-1? Nope, not quite. It's a shame everyone was a little tardy to the party. Dindy was there, but got there late. That was an excellent Ravage. They committed a ton to bring that Tidehunter down. And yeah, just unable to get anyone in position to capitalize on a well-shot Ravage. Taking a look at our gold graph for the first time, we're at 13 minutes in. 500 gold, the only advantage so far for Fnatic. 2,000 experience, so it's still anyone's game. Like you said, that little bit of an exchange down at bottom definitely getting Na'Vi a little bit more wind in their sails. Now, this is going to be spotted. Here we go. It's an avalanche uphill. Kuro brought down immediately. Havos is going to come in and try to punish them. Puppey doing what he can with the impetus damage. Io going to be able to tether up to the high ground. Dindy still on top of Excalibur. He's got 15 charges if he needs them. And no, he actually wasted a TP.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure why. He held on to the wand charges, which I understand. There was just no way it was going to make a difference anyway. But wasted a TP, maybe a panic TP there.
I mean, kind of a small deal, but it is something to be noted. Like, now because it's not so much about the gold for the TP. It's now he's going to have to waste time walking somewhere to farm when he respawns.
Right.
So kind of unfortunate for him. And every time you lose a little skirmish against Na'Vi, they have so much push that you're generally going to lose a tower. That last engagement where Fnatic used the Ravage too, it was a really nice double impale from Lion that was able to make Tide live long enough so that he could Ravage. Unfortunately, they didn't have any more follow-up damage. There's a TP in from Centaur, very aggressive, but he should be okay. So tower down though, that's the important thing here for Na'Vi.
Well, the thing is, you know, a situation like that, like you said, Trixie coming in very aggressively right in the face of an entire Na'Vi team. Thing is, if there's anyone in the dark and then you have Io and Tiny up on the map somewhere, they could be there immediately. So you actually have to be very wary of what bait you take, even if it seems like it should be hard for them to punish. A little bit of a fake back now as they pulled back, and now they're going to go in again. However, this will be spotted by a ward, so no one going to be fooled by that. Trixie pulling back immediately. Well, or dancing around in lane. He knows this is coming. He should be retreating maybe a little bit more quickly. Down at bottom, we see Excalibur and No Tail looking to get a little split push on and going to work on this bottom tier 1 now.
Yeah, maybe they should think about trying to catch them bottom. They know, oh, here, look, in mid. Dendy, he's in trouble.
There's the Mystic Flare, and yeah, they honestly didn't even need the Tiny and the Io. More than likely, we could have seen Fly bring him down by himself. And tell you what, man, we're beginning to see, we saw it yesterday some too, beginning to see the real strength that a Skywrath Mage, when played well and in the right situation, what he can bring to a team.
Yeah, absolutely. His ult is, it does so much damage if that's the only hero in the vicinity, not around creeps or anything like that. So it's very, very strong. Top tower is getting pressured. The howl damage on top of these minions, but the skeletons get plus 13. It's actually a big deal, but here we go.
Caught with the stomp, and here's the relocate in. Nope, never mind. That was a TP in. Thought he was going to be bringing someone now. He's hemmed up, but Havos is going to end up dropping, and No Tail still alive by some miracle, finally killed off by one of Puppey's creeps. And Kuro escapes just ahead of the stomp from Trixie. Ends up being a 1-for-1, but that's a 1-for-1 that Fnatic will take all day, trading away the IO for the Lycan.
I don't know about that decision, Havos. Like, I don't know about just going in there.
Havos, a little over-aggressive? No.
YOLO, man.
You don't say.
He's going YOLO mode on the Wisp right there. Thank God Puppey had that one creep, and it actually just died right after he got the kill. I saw that attack going in. I'm like, oh, my God. And, yeah, but, like, he probably shouldn't have even died, so that was basically a 1-for-nothing. Like, it really questionable decision right there to go in, but... Space created, I suppose, for Dendy. But the thing is whenever you think you have space, you really don't when that Wisp relocate is up, as we saw. Last time it was up, they killed Dendy so fast. And what's his item progression like? He's just phase boots, and he's just going survivability, I think.
He has to. He's 0-4-1.
He really does.
He's level 10. Compare that to Tiny's almost level 12 now. And that's a mid matchup that he should have won. And just the movement and the play of Fnatic was so good to punish him anytime he was at all over-aggressive. Speaking of aggressive, though, Puppey leading Kuro and Dindy, and they're going to try to catch out Tiny. Here we go. Moving in, there's going to be the Hex and a nice Impale. But let's see, actually the relocate, very, very well executed. That is going to be a dead no-tail. Now, actually, they got people on the way.
Yeah.
So never mind, he should not die. And looks like Na'Vi is able to sniff this out, actually. Knowing that in a situation like that close to a tier 2, them hanging around, probably not the best idea. So that's actually a pretty big waste from Na'Vi. They committed a fair amount of time to make that happen, did almost no damage, and no-tail survived.
Well, yeah, I guess, but they also use relocate, so that means it's a little bit more safety, I guess, for the other team, and for your other players, I should say, to go farm on the other sides of the map. So it's kind of give and take, but I actually didn't even think they needed to relocate. Like, if you saw when he used the level 4 overcharge onto Excalibur, he took, like, no damage. Like, he's really, really tanky with the Wisp on the overcharge, and he's only just begun. Like, 18 minutes with treads, drum of endurance, agonyms. Like, he's just starting to get big. He's really huge, actually. And let me check out the net worth. I always have the wrong tab open. Let me just find it.
All right, Excalibur up front. We see Na'Vi trying to end around. They're going to find Trixie, but he's got help on the low ground. Let's see if they can get... Yep, they're going to sort of commit. I guess they just took what range damage they could, but didn't want to overcommit to it. And Excalibur, the one up front right now, swinging the big tree and serving as a deterrent for Na'Vi, who, as we've seen, has an immense amount of push power here in this game. And they're going to go ahead and back off and reset. So
Haste bottom.
Yep, let's see. That will be Dindy who gets it, but yeah, he's going to have to use it immediately. He's actually going to turn around and maybe try to chase them down. Nope, here comes Trixie, and Dindy just blown up! Just utterly, completely vaporized. Between Trixie with the stomp, the double edge, and of course the Mystic Flare, this is not the best game for Dindy. He's now 0-5 on TA, who is up against a Tiny in mid.
Well, okay, to be fair, he started out top, and then it was the Wisp helping out Tiny. And
yeah, that is fair.
I don't think he should have had a good time, but nonetheless, he's not. He's really not playing that well, to be honest.
He's struggling.
He went to go for an ambitious. He wasn't even going to try to go for a kill on Wisp. Just, I want to see how much damage I can do. But there was just no, it was like the risk is so much higher than no reward, because there was no reward going to happen. He was not going to kill that Wisp.
Right.
By the way, Vlad's up on the Wisp. It's ridiculous. It's going to make Tiny even stronger.
That is sick.
With the extra armor it provides too. So yeah, Dendy, I think he's a little bit tilted, and for good reason. I mean, it's been really difficult for him, and it goes back to you kind of question the TA pick against specifically Tiny. It's very good against the refraction charges.
Yep. And for those at home wondering what we mean by that, that's because refraction actually ticks off damage in ticks, not one big burst. And speaking of burst, that's a dead nymph or whatever she is. That's dead Bambi. Now we're gonna have a relocate up the top of Oast. Next on the list as well, and he's brought down. And they're just gonna go ahead and clean up the necro creeps. That's 400 free gold, and this one may be hitting critical mass at this point. You know, you look at the gold graph, and it's not so much that it's huge right now. It's just I'm beginning to struggle to see how they're going to possibly slow down the progression of Tiny. He is just so gigantic. And No-Tail able to keep himself safe, by the way. We actually saw Dindy passing on through and didn't engage on him. But yeah, 15-5 now. And Tiny is a rolling stone. He has his Scepter. He has a Crystallis up already. Drums plus Trez. And we are at just 20 minutes into this game. Great performance from Excalibur once again.
I feel like, just in general, like they have no answer to Tiny when he's farmed in the late game.
No,
like, really nothing. Like, even if they were able to CC him down If he gets scared to the point where, okay, I could CC down, they have a lot of damage, he can just buy a BKB, but he's not scared of that at all at this point, so he doesn't need to go for BKB. So now he's going for crit, and he's going to do so much damage. And, you know, the Necro book is fine and all onto Havos, but actually Tiny just chunks those. Like, he kills them so fast that they just become irrelevant. So Blink Dagger actually up onto the Lion, so that's good. That's a step in the right direction. But yeah, I just don't know what they do against the Tiny in the late game, and he's just so freaking farmed at this point. With
he doesn't even have to build magic immunity like you said.
No,
like,
yeah,
there
I don't
comes
think
a point he can build a heart. Just build a how. Where's the damage going to come from if he builds a heart or even an assault cuirass? Like,
I would go AC.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go AC for the X to help your team out really, because they're going to start, like, at this point they're going to start to focus your team. They're not going to focus Tiny because he's just unkillable. So what do? You buff up your team and make them invulnerable too. And
exactly.
Then what do they go on? Like, how do they fight? So it just, he's way too farmed. He's got a Wisp by his side. I think that Na'Vi's got some big problems.
I tell you,
BKB though,
one hero that really hasn't felt that effective, and you know, I'm not laying it on the feet of the player. Don't get me wrong. Fnatic on the Tide, this has not felt like a Tide Hunter game to me. You know what I mean? Usually when you have a Tide Hunter, especially one that did okay-ish. I mean, he came out, he was level 6 at a decent clip. He got up his arc boots quite fast actually because they made enough space for him to farm kind of by himself. Trixie was struggling a little bit in top as well, so it wasn't like that was a huge win on that front. And usually you see a Tide hit 6 up, hang on, relocate, Puppey in trouble, and he'll be next on the list. That's going to be a dominating streak now for Excalibur. As, you know, as good as Era is on Tiny, Excalibur ain't too bad either, man. And now in mid, they're actually going to go ahead and fight it out again. Havos caught amidst an entire team of enemy faces, hit with the coil and brought down as well. And they're just losing heroes everywhere on the map. Everywhere you look, there's kill potential, and Dindy could be next now. As Big Daddy hooking up with Excalibur. Dindy hanging around and farming, has his BKB ready to go if he needs it. Drum charges will be used.
Yep, he's going to be TP.
Yep, he just got avalanche through the trees. And Refraction back up. There's the toss. No tail right there. And yeah, maybe not the best call, but here comes the Brigade. He's going to BKB, go in and just sell out for 1 kill on an IO, and it's actually stolen by Kuro, who came in, and Dindy tossed, which means the teleport canceled. Now they're pursuing him out. Blink Dagger's up on Trixie if he needs it. Mystic Flare actually eaten by the Refraction. Here comes Fnatic, and finally a big Ravage. Trixie's going to end up dead because of it, but Excalibur barely felt it. Let's see, does he have enough behind him? Yes, he will be able to bring down one. Hani comes back in as well. Fnatic trying to charge forward, has just enough mana for another Anchor Smash and or Gush. Hani able to make it away behind that. Another avalanche as Puppey has one tossed on top, going toe-to-toe with Havos, but there we go. Stampede after the relocate with Io and Trixie, and Fnatic, if he drops, that's gonna be a full 5-man wipe. Fnatic blows this game wide open on what looked to be a big turnaround by Na'Vi. Instead, they just built their lead, and you know what? How's a tower for good measure, too?
I mean, Tiny's doing so much damage. The double buyback there from Fnatic was actually really, really smart.
Oh, yeah.
The buyback from the Centaur especially, just to buy back and use the ultimate. And then the Wisp was able to save the Tiny, too. And now he's got a Daedalus with the Hyperstone on top of that.
LOL.
Oh, my God. It's going to be impossible. I mean, that was kind of like Na'Vi's really big hurrah. Like, they had to fight that. This is an Ancient stack now just going down in a matter of 5 seconds, really.
My God. He's only hitting for, you know, 420 damage.
Well, and the Vlad's helps him too, especially. It's based off of, I believe, what your base damage too. And Tiny's got one of the highest in the game. Actually, the highest in the game when he levels up the grow. So I don't know, man. I'm running out of answers here. I feel like Havos maybe needed a BKB earlier on.
Yep.
Like I don't think that he can really fight in these fights. And you saw him when he tried to like split push mid, but he just dies instantly to the coral. That's why I talked about the interaction between Puck and Lycan. If you don't have a BKB, Puck just owns you. Like, you have nowhere to go. You have to sit there and fight, but he doesn't have the capabilities to stand next to a Tiny who's got double his net worth.
Oh, easily. Well, I mean, to tell you the truth, it just kind of came apart in all phases. I mean, it's tough to be... I totally agree with your point that a BKB up early on Havos would have been giving him at least a little bit more combat potential, but really... This is the stage of the game where his team was drafted so they could fight without him. So he could go split push, he could go farm, he could do what he's supposed to do, then show up, pop his ult, run around, and hit people. Yeah. But they just didn't get enough out of Puppey and roaming on the Enchantress. They certainly didn't get enough out of Dindy. The decision to send Fnatic mid to begin and then swap Dindy in really set both heroes back.
Yeah, it was really weird. I don't understand that. Even if they just had, if they were scared of Denny not getting anything, they could have easily just roamed mid with Enchantress. We could see an engagement here on to Excalibur.
Up here we go. Moving in, 3-man avalanche, and now the Stampede as well as the double edge. The damage is huge. There's a Ravage, but is it too little too late? Dindy still up. There's one brought down by a finger from Kuro. Puppey, next on the list. That's a triple kill and a godlike streak for Excalibur. Make it an ultra kill. GG's called on the back of it. Fnatic takes game 1 and moves 1 game closer to moving on to meet Empire in the second round. Na'Vi tapping out right at 26 minutes. Now up against the wall, they could be the second team to fall to the lower bracket if they can't get it together in game 2.
Okay, so they banned out in the first phase Excalibur's Tinker. They banned out his freaking Meepo. Now, what do you do? I mean, they're playing against a stand-in who's just destroying them.
Oh,
15-1 and 6 on the Tiny. His GPM is almost 800 in a small 26-minute game. What do you do? I mean, and they picked. This is the scariest thing of all. They picked Wisp Tiny first. Yep. They showed their cards on the table right off out of the gate, and they still just completely dominated. Again, there's a couple things like they sent Dendy top. Like, what is he gonna do up there as a TA? That's so weird to me.
Yep.
And they sent Tidehunter mid without a stout shield. Not the biggest deal in the world, but
but even that's just weird. Like, why not?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. Like,
because he had like 8 tangos, I think. Like, it's like, what would you rather not? Would you not rather have?
Again, I think their idea was, well, we're scared of the Avalanche going through refraction.
Right.
But if that was the case, why'd you last pick TA when Tiny was first pick for Fnatic? And then send him mid against the dual lane. And even if that was the case, they still could have roamed mid because Lion and Enchantress are so good at roaming, especially if you get good creeps. And I believe he had the Trapper creep, whatever it's called. The
Dark Troll Summoner.
Exactly. So, yeah, just kind of some questionable laning, I feel. Bottom lane was great. Havos was doing very good, pressuring the tower up by himself.
Yep.
Had some space. They were able to keep Hani out for a good amount of time and then roam. But it was just the lanes, like, I don't know. They just got trumped by Excalibur, man.
Speaking of, he finished 15-1 and 6. He was involved in 21 kills overall, and hope you had him on your fantasy team. Don't know many people that would have, maybe since tomorrow. Or before, that made no sense. Maybe, I don't know if anyone would have had him on their team before yesterday. There we go. That's I think I had a stroke actually on here. So someone call a hospital. 15.
I think you need some monster.
Yes, that is. It is too early. It is just too early. 13.2. The fantasy rank that he got from that, or fantasy points that he contributed if you had him. So another great performance from him, and another upset could be on the way as Fnatic now leads 1-0. I'm AC, joined by Trout here on the ground at HyperX HQ here in LA. Behind us, the great LAN Esports Center they managed to build, and really allowing it to contribute to just basically serve as a place for a lot of teams to come practice. EG boot camped here. Yep. I know they've had a lot of teams from other esports come in, and really our pleasure to be here. So make sure you let HyperX know you appreciate what they're doing for esports, just like we do. Looking ahead to game 2, man. If you were in the captain's chair, what adjustments, if any, do you make if you're Na'Vi?
I mean, not just the wonky lanes, man. It just didn't make any sense. I would love to ask them like what they were thinking. Right. I'm legitimately curious as to what they wanted to get out of a Tide. I mean, Tide mid is great. Don't get me wrong. It actually is very effective, but didn't have the stout shield. But I think the biggest thing is what the hell is TA going to do top against that? So I think they just need to go back and think about what lanes are actually going to work.
Right.
And then sack things appropriately. So.
Well, Game 2's on the way. We'll find out together. This is the HyperX D2L Western Challenge Playoffs. Fnatic versus Na'Vi, our first best of 3 of 2 today, moving ahead to its second game. Stick with us. We'll be right back.